How's it going? All right, so yeah, sure. So I'm the founder of SwiftDemand, and what SwiftDemand is it's essentially universal basic income combined with cryptocurrency. And we are one of the earlier projects to get started, and also one of the largest. So I would really like to have the slides to start talking about it more. But basically, I'll show you the slide, but I'll just get started now. So basically, the way that works is it's really, really simple. You just go to swiftdemand.com, you sign up, you verify your identity, and then once you've verified your identity, you start collecting tokens on a daily basis. And these tokens you can actually use on the platform itself, because the platform itself is a marketplace. So the idea is, where's the clicker? Oh yeah, I could just do the slides. Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, just next. So yeah, this is basically a three-step process for how SwiftDemand works. It's who's that there? Okay. Yeah, so it's basically a three-step process. Step one, you sign up. Step two, you collect your tokens. And step three, you can go to the marketplace on the platform itself to buy things from other people. So that's in essence what SwiftDemand is. So yeah, next. Okay, so one thing I want to make really clear about SwiftDemand in particularly is that there's a really large business opportunity here. Like a lot of the pitches that you'll probably be hearing today, they're more charitable focused and stuff, but at SwiftDemand we believe that there's this huge, huge opportunity. So next slide. So I want to make something very, very clear. SwiftDemand is not a charity. SwiftDemand at its core is a startup. We are focused on growing as fast as we can, getting as many users as possible, and getting people to use Swifts as a currency. So we are trying to do good, and we do believe this is a really good thing to be doing, but we also believe that there's an absolutely massive business opportunity here. So I want to talk a little bit about growth. So as I mentioned a little bit before, SwiftDemand is, in terms of active users, is the largest person in this space. So, and that was very, very deliberate because we focus a lot on growth for almost everything that we do. So this is our sign-up page. And it looks very, very simple and very, very normal. And that's exactly the point. One key thing that we really want to focus on with SwiftDemand is making it be just like you would use any other product. So you don't need to know anything about cryptocurrencies, blockchain, or anything like that. We have a very, very clear business proposition for the user of exactly what they want to do. So as I mentioned, they simply sign up, and then once they sign up, they get into their account, which looks kind of like PayPal. And then their PayPal account that they have now just magically gets money in it. And then they go to another place on our website, which is the marketplace. And then on the marketplace itself, it's kind of like Amazon or whatever. And then you can just buy things. So it requires no new knowledge or whatever from the user, and it's very, very simple to pick up. And that's one of the reasons that we've been able to grow so quickly. So another thing that I really want to talk about that's really, really driven our growth is our referral program. So we give 500 Swifts to each person that you refer, and you get 500 Swifts. So it's really, really beneficial, and this has actually been a huge, huge way that we've managed to grow. 87.8% of our signups have been from referrals, and it was a major contributor to our 15% week-over-week growth. That has fallen off, but I'll talk about that in a little bit. And then, so yeah, we have 500,000 registered users on the site, and yeah, it's been great. Cool. So this is actually something that really, really bugs me. I hear a lot of people talking about how networks are all that matters, and if you have a big network, then your token is going to be worth lots and lots of money. And networks are necessary, but they're not sufficient. Because I'm not sure if any of you guys have heard about POW token, but it was this other type thing that was kind of like a UBI thing, and it was basically oh, we're going to grow really, really fast. They got 300,000 plus users, but their token is worth 1 e to the negative 7 something. It's basically worth absolutely nothing. So in order to actually create value, you need not only a network and a lot of users, you also need some way to generate that value. And the way that SwiftDemand does that is via the marketplace. So the marketplace is what really drives that value and creates that economy around the token itself. So basically, instead of with most other types of tokens, you kind of get it and you just try to offload it as fast as you can to get your money for a lot of these UBI projects. But what we really want to do here is make an actual currency. And the way that we make an actual currency is by really creating this marketplace, creating things that you want on the marketplace, and then driving that demand. And that demand drives growth, and that growth drives value to the actual currency. And this is what we would like to focus on. So another thing that I want to talk a lot about is fraud. So fraud is a really, really big issue. And once you've actually, you start to scale, and a lot of projects haven't really seen this yet because a lot of these are still relatively new, but as you scale, there's more and more fraud. And by fraud, I mean Sybil attacks. And if you're not familiar with what a Sybil attack is, it's basically if one user tries to make multiple accounts. Because if one user is able to make multiple accounts, this whole entire thing falls apart because your currency no longer has any value. This whole thing is very, very important to make sure that one person gets exactly one account and nothing more. So we've actually had many different attempts at how we're trying to solve this problem. Initially, we just did phone and email verification, which was fine when we had a small number of users. But we found that there started to be more and more fraud that started to happen. And it was a really big issue because people would get more phone numbers and emails and sign up and create fake accounts. So what we did after that was go to government documents and require people to submit full government documents. And this was somewhat effective. It helped eliminate a lot of the fraud, but this is also what ended up really hurting our growth rates. So yeah, that growth rate really hurt, and the extent that people went to actually defraud the system was kind of crazy. So people would actually buy documents off of the black market, and then we would require you to hold up something that says Swift demand on a piece of paper as well with your documents. And people actually bought documents off of the black market and then photoshopped the word Swift demand onto those documents and stuff, which is kind of crazy. Currently, we're using facial recognition and fraud detection to try to do this, and we're basically seeing what is the action of a legitimate user versus an illegitimate user, and trying to detect whether or not they are based off their previous actions. And we're also looking at graph-based solutions. Adam actually has a talk about BrightID a little bit later, which will go into this a little bit more. But the most important thing about Swift demand is we're not committed to any one particular solution. What we want to do is we want to find the best solution. We're committed to iterating, figuring out what the best way to do this is. And we have this total agile and just iterative mindset with everything that we do to grow as fast as we possibly can while making sure there's no fraud. Okay, cool, thanks, it works. Awesome, yay, I have slides now. Okay, cool, so what's next? So the thing that we want to do from here is we have to grow from 500,000 to 500 million users. So the question is, what do we do to actually get there? And the way that this kind of works is there's two main things at play here. There's the value that you provide to the user, and there's also the how hard it is to sign up and create your account. So basically, we want to increase the value for each user as much as we possibly can and decrease the friction, the sign-up process, as much as we can. So what we're really focusing on is doing company outreach. So we want to increase the quality of the products as much as we can. So maybe there's a game that you really, really like, and if you can get it on Swift demand, you'd be definitely willing to sign up. Or maybe there's some music that you like, and if we had that offer on Swift demand, you would definitely sign up. So we want to get those products on there, and this will in turn increase the value for the user, increase the value of the token, and really get the economy going faster and faster, which is just really beneficial all around. And another thing that we're focused on is continually improving fraud detection and just getting fraud to as low as possible in order to make sure that people have no issues signing up and there's no people getting UBI that aren't supposed to. So yeah, we have major progress at this point. So one thing that I really want to get across here is a lot of other of these projects are kind of in the idea stage, or they're going to launch or whatever, but we've been out there doing this for a decent amount of time now. We're launched, we have traction, we have an actual marketplace, and we're actually making this happen. We're a Delaware C Corp, we have over 10,000 daily active users, and I didn't really get to touch on this too much, but our business model, the way that essentially works is the marketplace. We take a transaction fee for all transactions that go on via the marketplace. And since everybody is getting money and they want to spend it, this is the main go-to place to actually do that right now. And assuming that UBI becomes as big as most of us here think it probably will be, then this is an absolutely massive market opportunity for whoever manages to claim this sector. So yeah, that's about it. Questions? Thank you.
So you said you're the biggest.
Correct.
What about NIMS?
NIMS? I haven't even heard of them.
Oh, Eastern Europe, and they apparently got 5 million users.
5 million users?
Yeah.
I've not heard about them
Not
at
heard
all.
of them. Oh, okay. And then
Do they actually have like 5 million like active users actively using the platform?
that's the way it sounds.
Okay, I'll definitely look to look that up.
And you said that. Do you have any sense or charts on usage? I'm sure there was a lot of usage going up into the 2008 or 17 the boom, and then the bust it probably flattened out.
Yeah. So
And then what's happened since then? Are people believers? Are they doing it? And then has anybody who's bought stuff with this?
yeah, for sure. So
One other thing. Something I got a little bit out of this was, are you like giving real encouragement for people to, in effect, barter? Like, are they like, oh, you're a part of the network, I'm a part of the network. I'll do your plumbing if you draw me pictures.
Well, it's not really supposed to be a barter system. It's supposed to be,
I get it, but they could sell it for a certain number of.
Yeah. So it's not direct barter. It's going through the currency, right? So we have like about 7,000 products submitted to the marketplace of people selling their products. Some of those are services. Some of those are actual physical products. Some are like ebooks. So it's a really wide range of what people actually do. And to go back to your previous question, our growth going into like the boom of crypto essentially was really, really strong. And even after it started to crash and whatever, our growth was actually the strongest than as it was. What really ended up hurting our growth more than anything was the fraud, because at that point we had to like really nail down and make sure that fraud couldn't get into our system. So we had to require government ID, and that really is what ended up hurting us a lot.
Do you tie social media into the fraud thing? So, because people generally only have one Facebook page.
What do you mean by that exactly?
Well, if you've only got one Facebook page, you link that Facebook page to that email address, that phone number, that person, and the more links that you get, the less likely that is somebody's fraud.
Unfortunately, that doesn't quite work that way, because you have to everybody has to be required to do the same exact thing. Because if I, for example, allowed you to sign up with your Facebook page or allowed you to sign up with your phone number, right, then if I allowed you to do either of those, and you could say, okay, this one account I'll sign up with my email, this one account I'll sign up with something else, and then you can create multiple accounts. So everything has to be done for every user the same way, otherwise you end up running into a huge amount of fraud.
Have you met any of the fraudsters? Because they may be able to help you.
Help me in what way? Like, I've met them, and like there's lots of different things that they do. So like because like you can't just use just like pure Facebook or whatever to verify either, because like people have tried that. But there's like tons of fake Facebook accounts, and you can even like at one point, like I was considering trying, like, okay, it had to be a Facebook account created before like this certain date to do it, but there's tons and tons of Facebook accounts that have certain ages on them. So like any sort of method like that ends up falling apart when you like dive into it.
When you give this money away, what's it worth now? Like, what am I getting per day? Am I getting $1 a day?
Yeah, so the value isn't very consistent. It's not like on any exchanges or whatnot. It's really the value of the people in the marketplace. And how people are valuing it is anywhere from around 1 cent per Swift to like a tenth of a cent per Swift or so. So like at the high end, it would be worth like $1 per day, but it's actually probably a bit less than that of what you would actually be able to buy with it. So, and again, we're really looking on like getting more valuable products on the store, because I'm very, very confident that we can raise that up to be very, very significant.
And then how have you been funded?
So it's mostly been self-funded at this point. So, and yeah, we did get a small amount of angel money that came in. And then we also sold some tokens for a small amount of money as well.
Oh, great. And when did you do the token sale?
It wasn't really a big token sale. It was just like a small experiment to see if people would be willing to purchase tokens. And that was done like right around like the big crash of like all the cryptocurrency.
Oh, so
at the beginning.
you were
yeah,
a little
it was a
late.
while back.
little late to the
Yeah.
token sale. Any other?
Hi. So I have maybe two questions. First is about UBI is supposed to be for the basic needs, and the products that or services that you showed up is not so much is a nice to have, not a basic need. The other thing is about the token generation model. So every time there's someone sign up, you give me tokens. So you are creating inflation as you grow, and it's like where the demand comes from. If you have plans to go to an exchange, and if yes, that mechanism doesn't play in your favor because you're creating a lot of supply. You are increasing supply as more people uses.
Yeah.
So those are like
So that's a really, really great point. And what I want to comment about that is the fact that we're not really trying to make the token itself be investable. We're trying to make it stable so that people can use it for daily transactions. So yes, there's going to be inflation, just like there's inflation with the dollar or whatever, right? So in order to actually make a currency that works like this, you need it to be somewhat stable. Otherwise, people are just going to like hold it and then wait for it to go up, and then you're kind of like defeating the whole purpose of like people getting their basic needs with it. And yeah, also the basic needs things, we don't have many of those right now, but like our idea behind that is we create a big enough economy, and then eventually you will be able to buy whatever you want, whether it be basic needs or not. Like we don't care too much about exactly how people are using it. We care more about like having it generate as much value as possible. And yeah, that will definitely come, but a little bit later.
So your total registered users are 500,000 and daily actives are 10,000. So that's like 2% of the total registered users use your app on daily basis.
Yeah.
So can you get into a bit more details of why there's so much churn and what your retentions look like, and like why are people not using the platform if there are 500,000 users?
Yeah. So the one big thing is like we had very, very like our actual usage numbers used to be around like 50% total. But the big issue was when we switched to government document verification, we required everyone to like re-verify through that. So that really ended up hurting our actual usage by quite a bit, because people who were signing up for it just because it was interesting, they weren't willing to go through that next step. So that's why those numbers have like a discrepancy between them.
Hi, my question is the following. If the revenue model is taking fees, transaction fees, but there is no liquidity for those tokens, like how do you actually get those tokens to become money and pay salaries or whatever?
Yeah. So this is like a pretty big misconception. What we're trying to do is make Swifts money. So like instead of like how you normally get dollars, right? Like the liquidity should be in Swift. So like our ideal vision in the future is, there'll probably be exchanges where Swifts are on that people can trade between currencies, but like that's not really our mission. Our mission is not like to get into a big exchange and then like have our valuation or whatever blow up. We're trying to like really grow this and have it be like people use the currency to buy and sell things in their normal daily lives. So like you would be paid possibly in dollars, you'd be paid possibly in Swifts for your salary, and you could like rent your apartment in Swifts. So like that's really our like goal, to have it be a side-by-side currency instead of just be like this investment vehicle that like everyone seems to think.
What's your strategy to get products and services on board and the acquisition cost for that?
So our strategy is mostly to reach out to companies who have low unit costs initially. So this would be something along the lines of potentially, we're open to more ideas and we're trying more things. But one thing that we're looking at doing right now is doing something like games, right? Because having your game be downloaded by someone and played, it doesn't actually cost you much as a developer. And also, like, if you're doing a startup or whatever, and you wanted to list your service on the platform, that also doesn't necessarily cost you too much, and that user growth is probably more important for you. So the pitch essentially is, if you are to list your service, you get Swifts, which may or may not be valuable, but at the very least, you'll get users from our user base. And it could be a nice windfall as well. So, and yeah, as far as like actual specific costs, for getting those on board, like we're not necessarily like paying them, right? We're basically in talks and trying to get them to come on board, and their payment is essentially going to be via Swifts.
Hi. So you talked about Sybil attacks and identity verification.
Yeah.
it seems like everything you've described is a centralized verification mechanism that hinges on the public's trust on your company. So my question would be, what prevents you from actually committing fraud on your users?
That's a really, really good question. And if you want a very detailed explanation, I would really recommend reading our white paper because it goes into that very, very deeply. But the brief explanation of it is we have different sections with checks and balances. So we have what's known as Swift citizens. Then we have the delegated nodes. And then we have what are known as identity providers. And Swift Demand is essentially an identity provider, and it has checks via the node. So if the identity provider is to do something incorrect, the delegated nodes can restrict the access of the identity provider to continue.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, which one's the next slide?